There you go. Just keep on talking.
Okay. So, like Layla said, I just retired.
Oh yeah, that was a different window chat box. I get a lot of the windows.
I just retired from the Department of Defense, teaching protective services, and I was a team leader there, and pretty much ran the protective services course for the Army. The Army is in charge of protecting all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all the generals at the Pentagon, and the Secretary of Defense. So we were training the guys that did that. I've done that for the last 22 years. Right after 9/11, from the U.S. Marshals, I came down to Fort Leonard Wood and started training the military police and CID agents to do protection. So during my career, while we were doing that in Afghanistan, Iraq, we went to both places to train on the job because guys got over there and they realized that they didn't have the training necessary to do what they were required to do on the battlefield. So we trained those guys, plus at the same time training all the guys to protect the generals at the Pentagon and the various secretaries of defense that we had. So that's where most of my career was training soldiers. But now that I'm retired, I've started my own company, and we're going to be training people with the same techniques that we trained the people to protect the Secretary of Defense. We're going to train people how to do that in their own lives. So how to make themselves and their families safer using the same principles that you would use to protect a dignitary or an executive. So that's kind of our theme for our company, and that's what we're going to do. If you guys want to look it up, it's defensiveapplications.org, and you can look at all of our classes that we have, and I'll go into some of the various classes that are unique to our company. But there's a lot of myths about what protection is, and you see the Bodyguard movies and Kevin Costner whisking Whitney Houston away after they've been shot at and things like that. We do train on that, and that's something that we can do if necessary. But 99% of the job of protective services and executive protection is preventing those things from happening in the first place. There's a lot of failures that happen if there's an actual shot fired, right? There's a lot of things that didn't happen that were supposed to in the protection field because you have layers upon layers upon layers of prevention. And that's mostly what executive protection is prevention. So that's why it applies to people's everyday lives. Is I can show you how to, when you approach a parking lot, go into Walmart, when you look at that parking lot, you start looking at it as how can I defend myself and make this safer for me as I park and go into the store and come out of the store, right? So we approach it like that. And so our various courses that we have to do that, aside from our executive protection training that we're going to continue doing, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. But our courses, we have a Be Safe course, which is just strictly self-defense. If you want to learn how to defend yourself physically from someone attacking you, then we can do that in a day. And a lot of people think, well, I have to wait, I have to train for 10 years to get my black belt before I can defend myself. And that's not necessarily true. Once you understand what real violence is and how people would want to attack you, you can defeat that pretty easily with the few things that we give you during that seminar in one day. And anybody can do it. It doesn't take, you don't have to be a super athlete or have ninja skills or anything like that to defend yourself. And I've seen that as my experience as a police officer in Kansas City, that anybody that started to fight back and had the will to fight back defended themselves successfully most of the time. Because, bad guys want certain things, and if they can't get them, if you make it hard for them to get, they're going to move on to the next target, right? So we can do that in a day. One of our other classes that we have is called Home Safe, and all of these have a safe theme to them. The Home Safe course is just how to make your home safer. We'll teach you, from anything from fire safety to how to secure your doors better than most residential construction does, to how to answer your door safely if somebody's knocking on your door, how to prevent home invasions, things like that, right? So, and we have, products that we can show you that can help with that. But it's just, again, those layers of security, just like if we're going to protect the Pentagon, you can do that same thing with your house with a few minor adjustments that don't cost a whole lot of money, but can make your home a lot safer. Along with the home safe part of it, we talk about scenarios of what if you come home and your front door is busted open, right? What do we do with that? How do we deal with it? You have windows broken out in your house that you just came home from work and now it looks like somebody broke into your house. What are our plans? What are our adjustments? And it kind of goes with that protection theme again of backwards planning. So you already have a plan in place when these things happen and you know what to do. Your family knows what to do in the event something like that happens to us. So we have that. We have a med staff course that is for medical personnel and healthcare, the people that are on the front lines of that, taking patients in, the registration staff, the frontline nurses in the ERs and things like that, that possibly deal with violent or irate people or people that are just confused and stressed out and those kind of things. So we go into a lot of de-escalation and a lot of how to prevent the violence from happening in the first place and how to set that up in a hospital or a healthcare office environment for doctors' offices and those kind of things. We also do that for real estate agents. Real estate, as I have taught several of these classes around the country for real estate, it's come to my attention, which I didn't know before teaching these safety classes, that real estate is actually a pretty dangerous job. You're out there, when you think about it, you're out there meeting strangers alone at a house that's probably doesn't have anyone in it. If you're showing the house or trying to get it sold, and you don't know these people ahead of time, right? So again, layering that and backwards planning, we've shown a lot of major real estate companies in this area and across the country how to do that for their employees. And then if it comes down to defending yourself, spend a little time on that as well. But there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of technology out there for real estate agents to use that they're not really aware of until they start looking at the safety of their employees. And that's usually a problem with all of these classes that we encounter is people always come to us after the fact. I was attacked while I was showing a house. I went to show a house and there were homeless people living in the house and they ran over me as I was trying to open the doors up to show it to a client, and they knocked us all over. They stole our purse or whatever it is, right? Or even worse, a kidnapping attempt or something like that, which has happened several times across the country, especially in Missouri now. The St. Louis area and Springfield, they've had several incidents in the past year where they would call one of the female real estate agents to the house in order to kidnap them and move them to a secondary crime scene, things like that. So we really want them to be safer in our area, especially because there's a lot of real estate agents in our area. And we're going to really concentrate on that course and helping them to be safer as well. So along with the individual courses for the different protection that we have, we're also training, we have a course for church security. If there's an active shooter or if there's an incident in the church where it becomes an altercation, again, kidnappings are always a concern with children and those kind of things in a church environment. And so to establish a security detail and make that a professional kind of thing at your church, then we have a course, a one-day course that'll train you and set you up with a good security detail for your worship service as well. And that really plays into the protection realm and the executive protection realm, because we are always about not interfering with what the protectee is doing, right? We can't do that, but we have to keep them safe at the same time. And that's what you want from your security at your church as well. I've seen a lot of churches where they just hire the biggest, meanest looking people to be their church security because they think, well, they look mean, so nobody's going to do anything. And it really detracts from the worship experience or the welcoming experience for people to come into the church. So your security should not interfere with the function of the church or the service at all, and it should still be a welcoming environment for people to come in. And so we will train people to do that, and we've done that several places. We did a class a few months ago just south of Springfield for one of the big churches in the Nixa area, and they were really grateful for that. And the pastor was in on the training too, so that was nice to have. So those are our offerings in the individual realm for different professions, or for an individual that just wants to be safer. And along with that, the other aspect of our company is starting to train people to do protective services for civilians across the country. So for healthcare CEOs and things like that, that's in big demand right now. And we're going to be teaching courses for that. And we're going to establish a network pretty much across the country where local people are available. So when the bigger billionaires and CEOs, which we have a lot of at the lake, that come in during the summertime, are going to have local people that they can rely on that know the roads, that know the areas, that know the ins and outs of the area, that can supplement the main protection detail that comes in with those CEOs and those people. So two different aspects of our company that we're going to be doing, and we're excited about bringing it to this, keeping it in this area and making this area safer. So those are our offerings, and that's what we're going to be about for the foreseeable future in retirement. So
You print cards?
do I have what?
Cards or?
We do have cards, yeah. Yeah, I
What
get
do
that
you-
business card for you.
This does not sound very, it's unfortunate that we need you.
It is,
But
yeah.
it sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's skills that people always wish they had when it happens, but they never want to think about it, you know. And it's hard to think about, you know, but with the pre-planning of it, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to think about it all the time, because you know you have a plan in those eventualities.
Right now, my wife is my security detail, and she yells at me for not locking my apartment because my garage door.
Yeah. Hey, it happens to all of us. That happens all the time. So it happened to us the other day. Yes.
I'm working a brand. Service, one of the family members, his daughter had passed away at the hospital, and they forced away. Many out of the hospital. He was there at the funeral service. And I didn't know anything about it until he came back. It was a pretty unsettling thing, because you didn't know when he was capable. Unfortunately, everything broke down, but we forget.
It could. And, you know, that's one of the things to look at when you're looking at your job, your profession, the things that you do on a daily basis. If there is anything that involves somebody in a stress situation, if there's anything in your job where, and of course with the funeral home, there's something, you know, that's some people's worst day of their lives that they're dealing with. Anytime that happens, there is the potential there that it can get so stressful that it turns physical, that it could get violent, right? So that's always something that we're looking at in the healthcare profession, you know, with medical issues and those kind of things and mental health issues. It could go bad very quickly. And those are things that if we do pre-planning and prepare for, we can minimize the risk and the threat for that. So, yes.
So is there a way, as we all go out of the community, to determine whether a person is a stranger versus a person who's dangerous?
Yes, excellent question. And all of our courses have an aspect to it on pre-contact cues. While I was still employed with DoD, I did a research paper on the pre-contact cues to violence. I was amazed that, because throughout my career, I dealt with Secret Service a lot. And they actually sponsored a study a long time ago, spent millions of dollars, and had this study done on the facial expressions and what people do physically when they're about to commit violence. And they never put it out. They never finished it. They never put it out to their agents. So even the Secret Service agents didn't know what to look for. Where we had been training on that in our course for years. When we had Secret Service come look at our course, they were like, "Where'd you get all this? These are really cool drills. I wish we were doing those." And I'm like, "It's your study. All this stuff is from what you guys sponsored." And they're like, "We've never heard of this. We don't even know anything about it." So, but every one of our courses, you'll get trained on how to recognize violence ahead of time so you can avoid it, or de-escalate it if you can't get out of the situation, how to de-escalate that situation, because you see it develop, right? And there's physical things that people do. There's facial expressions that people have. There's words that they say that indicate to you that, hey, this is escalating and this could go violent pretty quickly.
So,
But just go, yeah, avoid it altogether and be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, here, the only times I've ever put this going on have been, and it's going on in these houses. And each of those things, and we do it for underneath, and some activity, mental, political issues, so some are just upset. So many officers, who's really going to do something and who isn't, and really being aware from the very beginning of the encounter, very kind to walk in. For me, people are upset all the time, right? Amazing how I see everybody's been assigned. But when you're talking about the pre-contact control, the first things is if I was standing in front of you and I'm standing like this, and I'm just really talking to you, right? And I'm just upset. Do something as small as this, right? And all of a sudden, now I have this. Or I start dropping the shoulder. That for me, and what what I see personally, contact when somebody's ready to find something, and that's when you start creating those safety spaces. And being able to then you can start diffusing things a little bit more, creating more space between you and the other person. Just say a simple thing about into a motion before in a parking lot, somebody's coming in, or if this Walmart's one of my things in my existence, I hate it above love it at the same time. And what to look for in the store when you're going to be, to assess what's going on. You know.
Yeah. So, just to use the example of parking lots, again, taking it from the aspect of, hey, how would I protect a VIP, which is myself or my family, coming into this parking lot, right? Do a site survey on it before you ever get there. And if it's somewhere that you frequent, you can do that pretty easily because you're going there on a regular basis, right? So, I would approach the parking lot and I would look at it from left to right, look at the whole thing. I would take note of where are all the cameras and where are all the lights in case I'm there at night. Not recommended. I'd rather be there during the daytime. But if I have to go, things happen in your life. Sometimes you're there at night. I would want to know where the well-lit places are and where the cameras are in that parking lot. I would want to know if that location, that store, had security at it, or do they have to call the police to come there, right? So those are all things that are in my calculations as I look at this environment that I'm going to once a week, twice a week, wherever I go on a regular basis. And this could be your job, this could be your house. You evaluate those things like that. So you back up and get the big picture of it, and then you start getting the smaller details. Hey, where can I park at this location where I'm not surrounded by other vehicles? There's no vehicles close, but I'm still in eyesight and I'm not isolated when I park my car, right? A lot of the attempted kidnappings or robberies and things like that occur in parking lots. They will try to get you into a van, into a vehicle, or into your own vehicle, and then take you to a secondary location. So I would want a place where I parked to be facing out with my vehicle, right? Have to back in maybe or drive through until I'm face outward in the parking space with not a lot of cars around me, especially on the driver's side. And if you have to walk a little further, then you walk a little further. I don't want to be isolated, but I don't want other cars around me either. I want to know that, hey, somebody's coming towards me on purpose if they're approaching my vehicle, right? And you can call that out ahead of time. I know it might seem embarrassing or weird, but I've done it several times, and Layla's used to it now. At first, she was like, why are you calling people out like that in a parking lot? But I will. If somebody's walking towards our car, there must be a reason for it. So while they're still way over there before they get close, I'll say, hey, can I help you? And if they did have bad intent, they'll start looking around and change direction and go another way. If it really is something that people, somebody needs some help, or they're just walking to their car, which is on the other side, then they'll say that and acknowledge it, right? And it's no big deal. So.
And are you Earl?
Am I? Yes. Yeah. But that's just a personal choice from my career and the things I've seen all the time. And we can get into whether you want to carry or not with that. But somebody, you had a question too? Yeah.
It's Rick's message, if you miss the cues, grab your bag, it takes off. One side of what you hear is let them have it. It's real hard for me not to fight back, but small, I'm pretty mind.
Yeah.
But somebody's, when do you let them? When do you let them? Instead of maybe, how do you make that determination? I guess it.
Okay, so and I will definitely answer your question, but I want to back up to like this incident that you're thinking about, right? You're kind of thinking, and we're big sci-fi fans, right? So we apply, sci-fi terminology to a lot of these things, but you're kind of talking about a Star Trek incident, right? Where somebody beamed down and all of a sudden they have your back, right? Yeah. And so I'm definitely going to answer that, right? But let's back it up. Let's reverse engineer it, because that's what we do in our training is back this up and back this up and back this up. So with a parking lot type of incident, right? If you're going to your car and a concern would be, hey, somebody running up on me and grabbing my bag, right? As I'm exiting the store, I'm looking for that potential, right? And that's one of the benefits of having your car with no other cars around it is as you're walking to your car, you can see people approaching, right? And that means we have to be off of our phones, right? And can't be concerned with fumbling in our bag for our car keys. Again, a little pre-planning. If I had my phone out while I was in the store, I'm putting it up now as I walk to my car, and I'm thinking, hey, for this 30 seconds that it takes me to get in my car, I don't need to be on my phone and see anything, right? I can be looking left and right. I can see my surroundings. I can see what I got. I already have my keys in my hand, and I'm prepared with them as I walk. So it's a smooth, fluid thing as I get into my car. Once I'm in my car and buttoned up, then I can take my time to look at my phone, see what's going on, and then pull out of the parking lot. Okay. So we backwards plan that stuff. We know if there's security in there that I need to call for help, that I can get back to the store and those kind of things, right? I plan it so on my path to my car, I know where my halfway point is. At my halfway point, that tells me, do I run to my car if somebody's approaching me, or do I move back to the store and get help there? Right. So I'm just thinking about these things ahead of time. So I'm not paranoid about all of this because I've already planned it out in my mind. Right. And that actually makes you safer and calmer in these situations if you've already planned that stuff out. So if you already have a plan of action, if somebody's approaching me that I think might be trying to grab my purse, what's my plan here? What's my plan of action? So the reverse engineering of that is really where most of these things can be prevented. Now, like you said, things happen, we get distracted, we don't see. When I am putting my groceries or my bags or my child in my car, I want to have my back to the door of the car, pressed up against the door. So as I'm putting them in, my head's still out of the car and I can see those things and see somebody approaching that as well, right? So at those different times, I still want to be alert and aware and set myself up for success. Now, when bad guys see you doing those things, they're going to move on to another target, right? Unless they're cracked out of their mind, and on drugs, and they don't even care about any of that stuff. They may attempt it anyway. And then at the time, if someone is actually putting hands on you, or to the point of grabbing your purse, they are willing to harm you. Right? So if they approach you and say, give me your purse, that's a totally different situation. And that would be a time where you need to evaluate, hey, is it worth it? Right? What's worth it? Yeah, I give them my purse, they take off with my purse. Okay, no violence happened, I'm safer, they're safer, right? So we always think about what is the safest thing to do right now. But if they're actually putting hands on you, that's the time to defend yourself. Because they are to the point where they're willing to do you harm. And you have the right to defend yourself at that point. Okay, does that clarify it for you? But I also wanted to say, there's so many ways to prevent that in the first place before we get to right there. But when you talk about most self-defense classes or martial arts classes that we think of, they're always talking about, okay, a guy grabs you on your shirt. Now, what do you do to that? It's like, well, there were about 100 things that happened before that guy grabbed my shirt. Or they got you on the ground. We're going to teach you how to get out of that. Well, what horrible things in my life was I not paying attention to, right? I was so distracted, I ended up here. And if we reverse engineer it, there's so many things you can do to prevent that in the first place and set yourself up for success. Yes.
Good question.
Yes, no problem.
Is road rage,
Mhm.
kind of thing at 325, we're driving, St. Louis or whatever. Got to pull out in front of me or did something bad. I'm laying on my car, very sad. So, is there, just that it is 2025.
Mhm.
It's be shame on by laying on your part, but it was just a good awareness.
It is.
And said, it's just, and I just wanted to say that was.
Now, with road rage situations, there's ways to reverse engineer that and give yourself an out as well. When you come up to a stoplight, if you're not right up on somebody's bumper, right, give yourself enough lane. And I usually try to be, and Layla's always telling me you need to be in the other lane and switching lanes, because I always try to give myself an out and have an open lane that I can go to. If somebody slams their brakes on, hops out of their car and goes, I don't want to be so close to that car that I can't turn and go around them and go a different way. And that goes back to the executive protection thing. We always have an escape route, right? We always have a different way that we can go to get out of situations like that and avoid them altogether. Yes.
I guess I'm a night county, but what I'm hearing you say is I've heard people, if somebody came up to me, a stranger, say, hey, I need a ride square. Can you give me a ride? That would be a big no.
Yes. Yeah. So, we all are, I'm sure everybody in here is a kind person and wants to help out. But when you think about, I compare it to an email scam. Hey, I need help with this or that, right? You don't know me, but I need help. That's somebody approaching your vehicle and just asking out of the blue like that when you don't know them. More likely than not, compare that to the email thing that you get. I'm a Nigerian prince, and if you deposit $1,000 in my thing, that's kind of the same thing. If you're leaving a store and somebody approaches you in a parking lot and says, hey, my husband's having a heart attack, I need you to come to my vehicle right now and help. It's like, well, is that really the best thing that we can do to help him? If you're not a medical professional, then it's probably better that we go back into the store. Right. And if they don't want to do that, then that tells you everything you need to know. Right. Because that's what they should have been doing in the first place.
Follow up on Larry's comment. It seems like it would almost be like safer or better if you're inclined to give someone right and you see somebody not asking for one for this body. But it's safer if you invite them, hey, you need a ride up there rather than someone who approaches approaches you. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. If you're really fearing,
You shouldn't get in your car either.
yeah,
Why is this guy stopping when to pick me?
the other indicator there would be, hey, I can't take you because I'm going somewhere else right now, but I would be happy to pay for an Uber for you to do this. I've got the Uber app, I'll have them come pick you up right where you're at, and I'll pay for it, right? If you're feeling that charitable to do that. And if they don't want to do that, that tells you everything you want to know, because they're still getting a free ride, but that's not what their intent was, right? So that's a good way to verify those kind of things, right?
Well, Alan, thank you